Hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna do our classic rock reaction, man. And this is featuring the music of Chicago, early Chicago, the early Chicago that featured the great Terry Kath, man. So we're going all the way back to their first album, and we're gonna be hitting up these songs: Poem 58, South California Purples, Introduction, and that's live from Tanglewood, and finally Liberation, and it's an instrumental. So before I pop this off, I just want to give a shout out and a thanks to Finesse Muse. Thanks very much for the Chicago recommendation, man. This is his second recommendation for early Chicago. Finesse says, "Hey STB, I have another early Chicago quad request. This time featuring 4 songs from their debut self-titled double album, Chicago Transit Authority. Their first album is my favorite, and the first 2 tracks are the funky side of Chicago, led by Terry Kath on guitar." Thanks STB for this second quad request of Chicago. I plan on giving you more good stuff for Chicago in the future, featuring Terry Kath. Awesome. So man, let's hit this up. Now, what we'll do here is, because all of these songs are off of the same album, let's give it more like an album review. Okay, so what we'll do with the tracks is we'll treat it like an album listen. So all the tracks back to back, and then after all of the tracks, then we'll do kind of like an album review, which is best because some of the songs don't have any particular wiki spotlight or write-up. So let's focus just on the album itself, man. With that said, let's hit this up. Oh, by the way, just a warning, this is a long listen, because especially the last track, 15 minutes long, Liberation, a touch too long if you don't mind me saying so, Finesse, especially for just an instrumental, but it's all good, it's Chicago, so you know it's gonna be fine. Let's hit this up, man. Starting with Poem 58, early Chicago. Let's get it. Cheers, baby. Is pretty deadly in that bass. Can't give Terry all the way. Making that guitar cry. awesome, man. Puts it over the top.
When you discovered all those new things out of where you first left the world, when you felt beautiful and you said hello to everything you saw, I could have done all, so I could have wrote you all those times. I love you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I do. Yeah.
That was awesome. Holy. What a fantastic jam. So this is South California Purples.
That's really greasing it up. Just greasing it up, folks. Greasing it up. Yeah.
Cloud every morning, sun don't never shine.
Windy City, Chicago.
Chicago Live. Peter Cetera with that great hair. Oh, they all had great hair back then.
Hey now everybody, please don't
What a 10.
11.
Okay, and this is the long ass instrumental. Liberation. 15 minutes. this guy's gonna jam for hours, I'm sure. I like how they calm it down, taking it in a different direction. was quite a trek in itself. Let me tell you, holy cow. Great instrumental jams, great instrumental grooves all the way through, man. It's a wonder that these guys weren't bigger, you know. But I understand with Terry's passing, major cornerstone of their sound was missing. Even if they were to replace him, you know, it's not the same. And I don't know how much he contributed to the band, but I think that he contributed a lot where it comes to instrumental arrangements, vocals, songwriting. A lot of the creative cornerstone probably came from way of Terry Cat, and with his passing. And I remember Finesse was saying that he had intended to go off and form another band on his own, maybe a smaller unit, like a threesome, like Cream, something like that. What could have been, man? You know, what could have been? But yeah, great jams, great grooves all the way through. And a band like this could have and should have been as big as that of the Grateful Dead. Could you imagine these guys hitting up instrumentals like this in an outdoor, festival, arena, something like that? That's where they would probably hit their peak. You know, doing great instrumental jams like this, these songs like this, a 7-piece band just going crazy like this. I picture them in a really nice outdoor concert festival thing, a big, long, extended, long weekend engagement, something like that, man. That's where they would have really hit their stride. So, but they did leave us with some great stuff to look back upon. Let's do this with Chicago. Let's check out their specific album details and get a little bit more background and context about how their creative process, how they formulated their sound, background information that makes you appreciate more about the music itself, man. So, album review. Chicago Transit Authority. Chicago Transit Authority is the self-titled debut album by the Chicago-based group Chicago, then known as Chicago Transit Authority. It was recorded and released in '69. For this inaugural recording effort, the group was nominated for a Grammy Award for 1969 Best New Artist of the Year. The album was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2014. The album stayed on the Billboard 200 for 171 weeks, beating the previous record for a rock album's longevity of 155 weeks, and has been certified double platinum by the RIAA. History. Chicago was formed in early '67, first as the Big Thing, then Chicago Transit Authority, when producer James William Guercio took them in 1968. Their trademark was fusing brass and jazz with a soulful rock and roll feel that Guercio thought would prove successful, lobbying for his label to sign the band. Chicago Transit Authority signed to Columbia Records late in '68 and recorded their first album in late '69, January of '69, at CBS Studios on 52nd Street in New York. While Guercio had recently produced Blood, Sweat and Tears' second album, which proved to be a huge smash, he did so to raise capital for his band and to secure the contract with Columbia, which was reluctant at first to have two jazz rock bands since Blood, Sweat and Tears was already on their roster. That's understandable. By the end of the Chicago Transit Authority sessions, the band had decided they wanted it to be a double album. Skeptical, as the band had no track record, Columbia agreed to the concept only if the group would take a royalty cut. In addition to the material recorded for the album, Wake Up Sunshine, It Better End Soon, both later released on their second album, Loneliness Is Just a Word, later released on Chicago 3, and an early version of Mississippi Delta City Blues, with mostly different music than its eventual versions on Live in Japan and Chicago 6. All date from this era, and were performed as early as 1968. Other early original songs such as Dedicated to Girl Number 1 and Once Upon a Life were never released. Released in April '69, Chicago Transit Authority, sometimes informally referred to as CTA, was not an immediate hit, eventually reaching number 17 in the US and number 9 in the UK. While critical reaction was generally favorable, sales were slow at first, and the album initially failed to produce any hit singles, with the group seen as an album-oriented collective. Yeah, and I guess back in the day they were a little bit more prejudiced against album-oriented bands. They were really trying to push singles. Meanwhile, FM radio, with its album-oriented format, helped push sales along. In 1970 and 71, Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? Hit number 7, Beginnings hit number 7, and Questions 67 and 68 hit number 71 and number 24 for the 1971 re-release. All made it into the Billboard Hot 100 belatedly. Buoyed by the success of their later albums, Chicago Transit Authority had stayed on the charts for 171 weeks as of June '75, setting the then record for a rock album's chart longevity, and was certified gold and later platinum and double platinum by the RIAA. While the band toured the album, legal action was threatened by the actual Chicago Transit Authority, forcing the group to truncate their name to simply Chicago. I wonder whose bright idea that was originally, you know? But at the same time, you just don't know how successful you're going to be. The more successful you are, the bigger of a target you become. So if they did not really launch or become big, the Chicago Transit Authority wouldn't have given a shit, right? Musical style, writing and composition. Keyboardist Robert Lamb, guitarist Terry Kapp, and bassist Peter Cetera shared lead vocals, while James Pankow, Lee Loning, and Walter Parazetter handled all brass and woodwind instruments. And Danny Serafine played drums. Band members added percussions during sections of a song when they were playing their main instruments. For example, on I'm a Man, Pankow was on cowbell, Parazetter on tambourine, and Loughnane on claves. Lamb, Kath, and Pankow were the band's main composers at this time. Yeah, I was right, he contributed a lot to the band's formation and sound. According to the band's producer, James William Guercio, Jimi Hendrix was an avowed fan of Kath's playing. According to the album's original liner notes, the solo performance of Kath on free-form guitar was created without the use of any pedals. In a nod to Hendrix's guitar expressionism, Hendrix most notably used wah and fuzz pedals. Kath instead plugged directly into his studio amplifier and improvised the entire track in one take for the purpose of pure tone. Free-form guitar was an influence on the genre of noise music. The album is one of two not to have any songwriting contributions from Cetera during his tenure in the band, the other being Chicago 5. He started writing songs with the second album, Chicago. Okay, the second album was called Chicago. Recording and production. Okay, it's not too long, so we might learn something here. Recording and production. Because of dealings between the recording company and the group's producer, the group's studio time was limited to only 5 days of basic tracking and 5 days of overdubbing by the recording company. According to band member Walter Parazetter, when the group went into the studio to record the album, they found out we knew very little about what we were doing. The first song was Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? We tried to record as a band, live, all of us in the studio at once. Finally, it was decided that drums, bass, keyboard, and guitars would be recorded first, and then the horns and vocals. In 2002, Chicago Transit Authority was remastered and reissued on one CD by Rhino Records and Columbia Records. Rhino Records trimmed some of the songs, noticeably the fade-outs on Questions 67 and 68. The 10-second gap between Somebody and Liberation, and also some studio chatter. Okay, do what you got to do, I guess. But that's when, being a live act, that's when that you would hear the whole thing in full, right? Awards and honors. The group was nominated for a Grammy Award for 1969 Best New Artist of the Year. Chicago Transit Authority was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2014. Chicago Transit Authority is the only Chicago album listed in the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. All right, there you go, y'all. That is the background info of this great album and the formation of the sound and the structuring and everything like that. Just little things like, making the brass come in a little bit later and adding it later, chopping it up and then putting it together. All of those little things really makes you appreciate the end result, doesn't it? And I'm visualizing these guys in an outdoor concert festival, rubbing shoulders with that of the Grateful Dead and the Allman Brothers. You know what I'm saying? They should have been, could have been that great. Maybe some of you consider them to be that great, but I don't know, for some reason we would just hear more about them. They would be more prominent on the landscape of rock and roll, wouldn't they? So, but I understand again, with the passing of Terry Kath and maybe other things contributed to them not really blowing up. There's just so many things to consider, the industry, the people in management that are really not for them, only for themselves. There's just so many different challenges, so many different rapids that you've got to navigate, and hopefully at the end of it all you are in the clear and you have achieved your goals. So I know that it's a really testy trial situation for bands to get from point A to point B. So I'm not going to knock it at all. I'm just speaking out loud and wondering why, because they've got all of this great potential. But it isn't just great potential. That's just the beginning, because so many other great people out there have great potential, but it's a matter of a whole, it's basically a whole assembly of things that makes you ultimately a big name, isn't it? All right. That was great though. All four of those tracks was great. Even that long ass intro or instrumental was really excellent, man. Their signature sound was fantastic. And with that signature sound, they could have really gone very, very far. But of course, they've reached a really great height. Chicago is a household name, so, all right. That concludes our look at Chicago. Vanessa, thanks again for the recommendation. I appreciate it very much, man. Hope you guys enjoy this. I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I look forward to doing a little bit more Chicago down the road. Whenever somebody submits it, I'll make sure that I make the time. So, I got reactions in the shoot. I got to hit up Jeff, Brian, Jacob, Quincy, and a couple of new patrons. So, that's coming up this week, man. So you guys have yourselves a good one. Speaking of this week, it is raining like crazy. I'm on the West Coast and everybody's hydroplaning into each other, man. So if it's raining in your part of the country, make sure you slow the hell down, man. I don't know why people are in such a hurry when there's so much water on the road. They're still driving at the same speed. What the hell is wrong with people, man? Slow the hell down, everybody. All right? Be safe, and I'll see you in my next reaction. Peace.